Hey there, Ohana Online, Oasis Online. Welcome to a full hour of restorative yoga, which really has my heart in a lot of ways. Restorative yoga is about accessing the subtle body. So, very much about passive stretching, very much about relinquishing control and allowing your body to access some of the deeper layers. So, the deeper tissues and the deeper sensations. The amazing thing is that it's not an easy practice. It's an incredible mental journey and challenge. And so you have this full hour to explore whatever starts populating in your brain and to see how that affects you, see how you move through the physical body and start to feel these deeper sensations that are really rich and very potent. Okay, we'll start in not your favorite way, I'm sure. Toes pose is our first posture. So I will utilize a block for this first posture. You don't necessarily have to have a block, but it makes it a little bit easier. I'll turn away from you for just a second so you can see my lower body. Tuck your toes under and separate your pinky toe a little bit from your other toes. Then you'll put compression into the feet by leaning back on top of the heels. And if you have a block or a couch cushion, you could sit on top of it to take a little bit of the weight off the flex of the toes. And we'll begin right here. So there is a natural challenge with the toes turned under this way. And it's very purposeful that we begin here so that you are encouraged to develop your breath, your pranayama. We'll drop right away into Ujjayi breath. Inhale. Through the nose, exhale out. Deep breath in. Exhale through your nose and just let your lips be soft. Together, inhale. Let it go. Continue this breath pattern, Ujjayi pranayama, where you're creating a vibrational quality from the nostrils, the sinus cavities, from the back of your throat, all the way down the larynx, through the lungs. And from the vibration in your lungs, your breath will travel through all of the pathways of your entire body. And what this breath does is immediately meet the challenge in the physical body. So yes, I know your toes are probably cramping right now, and it may not be comfortable to be in toes pose. This is where you start to utilize breath work, pranayama, to curtail the stress response of the central nervous system. This is exactly how you begin to access the more subtle layers of the body. Instead of simply focusing on the crunch of the toes tucked under, see if you can sit up even taller so that there's more internal space for the lungs to fill and empty simultaneously. Your toes continue to fan, and your hips continue to get heavier and heavier and heavier. Like I shared with you to start practice today, restorative is not easy. There is inherent challenge in making the choice to slow down. But what it really does is bring you face to face with all the thoughts that are moving through the brain. Once you know what they are, once you observe them, they have a tendency to then just relinquish their hold a little bit on your life in your day-to-day experience. Don't worry, we're almost done with Toes Pose. So knowing that the end is coming up shortly, can you let the body fall even heavier towards the floor? It's like your internal organs almost shift to the pelvic bowl. When you feel the steadiness and the weight, see if you can purposefully lift up through the top of your head. Okay, now together, inhale. Ujjayi through the nose, exhale. Breathe in. Through the nose, empty out. Last time, you can do this. Stay with it. Take a full breath in. Hold it at the top. Make your side bodies even bigger. Your front and back heart even bigger. Take another sip of air in. Open mouth, exhale out. You made it. Untuck your toes so that the tops of your feet are on the floor, and bring your hips on top of your heels. So to turn away from you for a moment, now instead of your toes under, the top of your feet are on the ground. Okay? If you'd still like the block or your couch cushion on top of the heels, you could do that too. We'll be here for a few moments. So now you can flatten out the top of the foot and you just let it sink into the floor. We'll take just a little bit of arm work to start to open up the upper thoracic spine and start to move some of the energy in the upper body. So take your elbows out to the sides. It's almost like a cow-like posture where you move the ribs forward and the base of your neck back. Then bring your elbows to touch. Think cat-like pose in the spine where the belly curls in and your chin curls in. And then just start to move through this little bit of upper spine opening. Be really gentle. So it's not about maximum mobility at all. You're simply encouraging some of the energetic pathways to become alive. Notice if you're trying too much or if you're controlling too much. We'll make this just simply about the subtle sensations rather than the big, huge in your face. When you're done with the arm movement, simply let your hands fall into your lap. Your left hand will cup the right palm. This mudra is all about universality. Let the thumbs touch and your eyelids close either halfway or all the way. And so in this very simple hand mudra or hand expression, we start to honor the collective, that regardless of space or time or location, we are all here together as one. Try to honor the same dynamics of the spine where the hips get grounded and anchored, while the top of your head is almost like a helium balloon. And it continues to lift up towards the ceiling. And simply turn the mind's eye inward to notice the really subtle spaces and places of energy moving through the linear line of the spine. And we'll take this into restorative seated forward fold. Couple tricks up my sleeve. I've got pretty tight hamstrings, so I'll take a little blanket and it will come underneath the base of my seat and sitting bones. Then I also love blocks, and I love a bolster for this. Seated on top of the blanket, I'll kind of scooch my hips forward so that I'm right at the sitting bones, the ischial bones at the edge of the blanket. It tilts my pelvis forward, so the hip bones move back, the sitting bones move back, the front hip bones move forward. Then bolster, you could put it almost at an angle in front of you so that your forehead has something to connect to. And like an Egyptian sphinx, I love the blocks underneath my forearms and palms. If you don't have any props wherever you are, don't worry. You'll simply allow your chest to fall forward and your body to hang over the legs. As we first come into seated forward fold, this is known as caterpillar in the yin tradition. See where you first feel the tension in the back of the body. Do you feel the tension in your lower back, or more of the middle back, or the upper thoracic spine, or the neck? There's nothing that you need to do about it except merely observe. Because the magic of restorative yoga is felt, is experienced through time. Meaning that it starts to target the connective tissue. And it can only do this as time begins to pass. The muscles begin to disengage. You can help facilitate that action, and it's really a non-action, truly, by starting to tap into gravity. So the thigh bones get really heavy. The calves are so heavy, they just kind of mush into your floor surface. And it almost feels like your heels are making indentations wherever you are. And follow that same type of pattern of releasing the activation through the sides of the shoulders, your elbow tips, your wrists, your fingertips. Use the same really subtle allowance of the internal organs, almost dropping towards the pelvic bowl. So that now there's all sorts of spaciousness through the entirety of the back of the body. And as soon as the muscles know that it's okay for them to disengage, the fascia, the connective tissue, will begin to lubricate itself. And this physiological action of the lubrication of the connective tissues allows the subtle body energetics, the life force that courses through your body. It allows clear passage. Notice how when the muscles begin to relax, there's a sensation of depth, not necessarily in the shape, but in your ability to just feel through each moment. It's like the muscular disintegration creates an energetic reactivation. And through that process, awareness starts to expand. As you continue to feel into this posture, you may have noticed how the tension you originally felt at the back of the spine has moved or shifted or reduced. Both the body and the mind begin to adapt. Three more rounds of breath. Begin to slowly start to rise. And if you do have props, you can place them all to the left side of your mat. Roll all the way down to your back. You can also move the blanket from underneath you, and it could now serve as your pillow underneath your head. Take a moment here just to lay on the back, to let the spine settle into the floor. As if the earth was a palm and your whole body is just nestled into the hand. Notice if you feel any shifts at the back of the spine, the energy potentially at the back of the heart, through the sides of the neck, and the base of your skull. From here, roll to fetal position on your left-hand side. So you're on your left hip, you're on your left shoulder. You're in a comfortable fetal position. Where your whole body can find some sweetness in the stillness. We'll take this into supine twist. Before you move the torso, you may really like a block or a bolster between the thighs. Then from here, simply roll your right shoulder open to the ceiling. So your lower body stays as it was. And your upper body, your torso has simply turned towards the ceiling. It's okay if your right shoulder doesn't hit the floor. And to begin class, we started with just the sagittal plane, the front and the back of the body. And now we start to move some rotation into the experience. Notice where the pockets of space are in the ribs, in the hips. How that the energy, the subtle body, is not just forward and back, but it can twist, it can turn, it can move in every direction. Notice how the luxury of time starts to smooth out the experience. Three rounds of breath. From here, close your right shoulder back to the left. So you're basically back in fetal position. Take your hands down to the floor. Press yourself up. You're still on your left hip. From this position, you can take your bolster underneath your left side body, or take a couple pillows, or if you've got a big stack of books, just make sure you put something really soft on top of it. Your top leg, so you're on your left side right now, your top leg is your right leg. Simply slide it back. Hug the bolster to your left side body and lay over it. Your right arm can do whatever it needs to do. It might come all the way up and over. You might even take your blanket on top of the left shoulder to support the head and neck. So we're now in the third plane of the body. So that the whole right side body, right hip starts to open. And the whole right rib cage becomes more penetrable with your breath. Depending on how tight your right side body is, you may have been holding up the right thigh inadvertently this whole time. See if you can disengage the muscles of the right seat, the right thigh, the right hamstring. Allow the entirety of the right leg to simply melt towards the floor. Treat yourself to 3 luscious rounds of breath. From this position, you can lift yourself up just a little bit to slide the cushion or the bolster out from underneath you. From fetal position, take the right leg back on top of the left. Roll onto your back. Feel free to reposition your pillow, reposition your props to the right side of your body. Then allow yourself to sink. And so you'll probably feel a lot of input from the right side of your body, where you've opened up energetic pathways where there feel like there's some space there now. Notice that it doesn't need to be controlled. That you can merely enjoy it with trust, with confidence, with a sense of support that's very deep inside. It's intuitive, it's natural. Just as is the beat of your heart. From here, we'll move into fetal position on the right-hand side of your body. Roll to your right hip, roll to your right shoulder. From this place of simplicity, feel free to put a block or a bolster or pillow between the knees. Supine twist. Open up your left shoulder, your chest towards the ceiling. And care less about the shape, the form, and more about the thoughts that enter and exit the mind. How the ability to slow down allows you to find the richness, the potency of the practice. where you literally feel the energy coursing through the body. And to support that process, let the bones fall heavy. Allow your muscles to soften. And your skin start to hang from both the muscles and the bone. Take 3 breaths as if each one was bigger than the last. Roll your left shoulder back on top of your right, so you're back into fetal position on the right hand side. Hands to the earth. Start to lift your body up. Pillow or bolster, cushion, block stack with something soft on top of it. Hug that in towards your right hip crease. Roll down towards your right arm, right shoulder. Feel free to do whatever you need with your left arm. It could be up and overhead, whatever feels good. And slide your top leg, your left leg back a little bit behind. So staggered legs, right hip and right shoulder to the floor. And the whole body continues to melt into the floor. As if gravity was the most comforting blanket, caressed every single part of the outer shell and the inner spirit. And take an inhale breath. Let it flow through you. Exhale. Breathe in. Exhale out. And one more. Take your time to slide your left leg back on top of your right. Use your hands to press yourself up. Okay, we'll move into our final posture. And this will essentially be a supported fish-like upper spine. One thing I love to do is have my bolster horizontal. So it's going to target the upper thoracic spine. And then you could take your blanket and start to make a neck roll with it so that the roll of the blanket will essentially come underneath the base of the neck. And the rest of the blanket acts like a little pillow behind. If you have blocks or other pillows, these will target the backs of the knees, the backs of the legs. It'll take a little time to get set up, so know that there's no rush. And then you'll line this up so that you have support under the legs, support underneath the back of the heart, support at the base of the skull, and this is the time and opportunity to let the energy move freely, completely through your body, unhindered, unobstructed. The more that you try to control, the less you'll receive. Start with the heels. Let them get super heavy. The toes are soft. The ankles are soft. Your calf muscles are heavy and they fall away towards the floor from the shin bone. Backs of the knees are fully supported by blocks or pillows or the floor. Your glutes are soft. Your hips are heavy. And there's a sense of welcome, opportunity in the heart and the chest. Well, all 5 fingers on your right hand fall heavy. All 5 fingers on your left hand are soft. The shoulders roll open as your head grounds. Let your breath become just a trickle. As awareness begins to expand, you can let the thoughts come in and they exit just as quickly as they may enter. Start to re-enrich your breath so that it comes more into the forefront of the practice. Notice what it's like to have both the energy and the breath move freely, how they're inextricably linked and so beautiful, so nourishing from head to toe. As you feel inclined, you can start to move a little bit through the extremities, the fingers and the toes. You'll simply turn one direction or the other to gently make your way back up into a seat. And here you may choose to sit on top of one of your props, or you may choose the floor. Start to feel how the body comes back online, the brain too, but how it's just so much more soft, more steady, more simple. Take your hands to your heart. We'll Om together. First, a round of breath. Breathe in. And breathe out. Inhale to prepare. Put your thumbs up to your third eye. Bow forward to honor the collective. We are all in this as one. Namaste. Ohana Oasis Online. It's really, truly an honor to be with you in every way. So please have a beautiful day, evening. Hopefully you'll come back to this practice again and again to start to feel the subtle parts of who you are, not the in your face, the external, but the beauty of the internal. An awesome day, night. I'll see you soon. Thank you so much.